Hello and happy Tuesday. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montia, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is occasionally known as a Suns reporter lately, of course. He's also my vice mayor and still your thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman.
I have about 2 sad Suns tweets that come out from my account every week. I don't know if I would quite deem that worthy of the title Suns reporter.
Why don't you have happy Suns tweets ever?
Because there are no happy. There is nothing happy in the world of that basketball team right now, Derek.
I smile about in my life.
I don't know what to tell you.
Look at me drenched in my LVIA stuff as you sit here and badmouth this team. Of course, we welcome you guys in. Thank you for being here. A ski to you all. And of course, we're still talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks 2023 season because we still can't get over it. But we are taking a look ahead because, of course, there are already rankings coming out into the future. Of course, Aaron is here.
Aaron Hughes knows what we're talking about.
Dog framing. What a joke. It's our baby boy, Aaron Hughes.
Me and Aaron in the trenches together.
Yeah, I know. You guys.
Like it always should be.
There's I do appreciate.
Not from Derek.
No, not at all.
From me and Dana.
Yeah, no, but Aaron actually brought up a great question that we didn't address on Mailbag Monday, but he once again did cleverly call Patrick Bailey Bad Trick Bailey, which I don't hate that at all. But here's Aaron's question from Mailbag Monday, if we do have that. Aaron asks, let's see how Gabi actually stacks up against Patrick Bailey. And of course, this is in reference to a recent graphic that's been going around that from MLB Nerds that ranked catchers in baseball for next season. And it did not see our boy Gabi in a very favorable light as far as, I guess, a high ranking.
No.
We do. Let's take a look at those rankings. Do we have, let's start with the top ones, I suppose. Let's get to those. At the top, or wait, where are we? Nope, here's where Gabi is. So this is the bottom half. Gabriel Moreno is ranked the 14th top catcher in baseball heading into 2024. Which isn't bad, I guess. Not great, though.
It's above average, right?
It's above average, but just slightly. I hate that. And we know this guy is way more valuable to us than being the 14th best catcher in baseball. Get out of here with that. There's a lot of names on this list that I completely disagree with as far as being ranked above Gabi. But maybe it's just because people still don't know what Gabi can do. Maybe it's because people don't believe in Gabi yet until he's been able to do it for more than just a portion of a season like he did for 2023.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for, a player having to kind of prove himself over the course of multiple years before you're going to put him in, the top 5 or something of a list like this. And yeah, I mean, you look at Gabi Moreno's numbers, it's not like he was clearly the 2nd or 3rd best catcher in baseball. I think this is actually a period of time in the sport where there are a lot of really productive catchers, not only defensively, but offensively as well.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the top half now because we have the top 10 and this is egregious. It's egregious. I'm just going to say it. Will Smith as the best catcher in the National League. In what world? In what universe?
I mean, I don't think that's that crazy of a choice to be told. Will Smith is pretty good.
Patrick Bailey as number 7 overall in baseball. Come on, what are we doing,
high, Jesse, for Will Smith?
What are we doing?
2's a little high for Will Smith.
Yeah, I saw.
I mean,
a lot of people
who on
saying
this
that.
list are you putting ahead of Will Smith? I guess is my question.
Gabriel Moreno.
That is unreasonable.
I know. Well, you don't have me on this show to be reasonable, Jesse. That's not why I'm here.
Long been established
That's
at this
not my
point. That's
job.
fair.
But yeah, no, I mean
Sean Murphy and Real Muto.
Sean Murphy, fair. I think you could make a case that Sean Murphy should be higher on the list than Will Smith. I don't think it's obvious necessarily, but I think you could make that case. JT Realmuto had a little bit of a down year in 2023. His OPS was around 750. He didn't draw so many walks. I think he had like a 750 OPS, something like that. Will Smith was the more valuable catcher in 2023, in my opinion. But I feel like what we're really getting at here, what really makes this list egregious, is the fact that Gabriel Moreno is number 14.
That's what's egregious.
And Patrick Bailey is number 7. Yeah, I mean, there's been some talk about those two guys and kind of debate about which one you would rather have. I feel like when people make these top 10, top 20 graphics and float them around social media, this is exactly what they want us to do. We
fell into the trap.
Yeah, we're
we?
absolutely falling into the trap.
We're just out here advertising for MLB
Nerds wins here by getting us to show their graphic on our show and talk about it on this episode. But yeah, I mean, I think defensively, this is a debate that we've had, right? Patrick Bailey versus Gabriel Moreno. Gabriel Moreno winds up winning the Gold Glove in the National League. Right. Giants fans were not happy about that. We talked a month or so ago about the comparison between them, and I don't think it's outrageous to say that Patrick Bailey is a better defensive catcher than Gabriel Moreno. I don't personally agree with that necessarily, but it's pretty close. But once you factor in offensively what these guys gave you in 2023, that's where I just don't think you can reasonably put Patrick Bailey higher on the list, especially this much higher. Like Patrick Bailey, number 7, Gabriel Moreno, number 14. It's completely unreasonable, Derek. It makes no sense.
It's egregious. Yes.
It's pretty egregious. What I will say, I pulled up a leaderboard today on FanGraphs of wins above replacement for catchers. Patrick Bailey is number 7 on the list. And I have to believe that the MLB Nerds people, they didn't just pull up the FanGraphs leaderboard and copy and paste it. It's not quite that exact, but there's a lot of overlap between their list and the FanGraphs wins above replacement list. FanGraphs, however, liked Patrick Bailey considerably more than Baseball Reference. Baseball Reference WAR had Patrick Bailey as being below 1 win above replacement for 2023. So
that's because Baseball Reference is a G. Now, we don't deal in fake forecasting and magic around here. We deal in facts, and the facts are their stats for 2023. Damon, can we take a look at the comparison? No. All right. Well, we'll have that here for you in a second between Gabriel Moreno and Patrick Bailey. But they did have some identical stats. They were close, like you said. It's not like it's that far off as far as their production. But when you factor in what Gabriel Moreno did offensively, that's just during the regular season, not to mention the fact that he really did show a different level in the playoffs, right? Like when you get to the offs, right? And by the way, I have to appreciate Elizabeth's comment. She said, Derek looks like he's about to go skiing or skiing. That's a good one. Ski to you all, by the way. There was just a different level of intensity from Moreno, the exact kind of thing you want to see. In fact, it's kind of the antithesis to what happened to Christian Walker, right? Christian Walker was an offensive threat all year long, and when he got in the playoffs, he kind of struggled there, right? He went into a slump. Meanwhile, you had Gabriel Moreno, who almost, just seemed to become elite in the playoffs when it came to, him still being a rookie, essentially, right? And so it's just, I don't know. I think that the potential for Moreno is still there. Like, I feel like we haven't even seen all of what he can do. And I also think that, there has to be something to be said for how clutch he was for this team when it mattered.
He really was. Yeah. I mean, clutch is a great word to describe Gabriel Moreno. He hit, I think it was 4 home runs in the postseason, and all of them just seemed huge, right? Or at least like kind of iconic in some sort of a way.
That also
like
it was the bat flip. It was the bat flip.
Yeah, the bat flips every time were, of course, on point. There was the foul homer followed by the fair homer. There was the 3-run home run against Clayton Kershaw in Game 1 of the NLDS, which was just kind of a statement maker as the Diamondbacks put 6 runs on him right off the bat. If you look at Gabriel Moreno from when he returned from his shoulder injury in mid-August to the end of the postseason, he was an excellent hitter. He slashed 286, 356, 478. That's from, I believe it's like August 12th through the end of the postseason, which is not a terribly small sample size. And with how deep the Diamondbacks went in the postseason, those were important games for the Diamondbacks, nearly all of them down the stretch. Gabriel Moreno was starting basically every single day.
Yep.
And so that's a decent chunk of games. And Moreno found a way to take this huge step forward offensively. We started to see not only the batted ball skills that he showed in the first half of the season, but we saw him come into some power as well. And that was really the big next step that Gabi Moreno took in the second half.
Well, we do have that comparison graphic now, and this is to answer Aaron's question from Mailbag Monday. And I mean, really, just to prove the point that we're trying to make here between these two guys, player A, player B, which one would you rather have on your team? Am I right here, Jesse?
Yeah. And I did think it was funny earlier that Cog said that like B-War is the best because it supports my narrative. There's a lot of that with Patrick Bailey and Gabriel Moreno because Fangraphs loves Patrick Bailey and thinks that he's the better player. And Baseball Reference adores Gabriel Moreno and thinks that he is the far, far better player. Gabi Moreno was over 4 B-War in 2023 compared to, as I said earlier, under 1 for Patrick Bailey in 2023. But yeah, running through these numbers real quick. In 2023, the whole season, Gabriel Moreno /284, 339, 408. Patrick Bailey /233, 285, 359. That's not very close. Extra base hits, they were basically right around the same. 27 for Gabi, 26 for Patrick Bailey. I think Gabi had like 30 more plate appearances or something. Defensive runs saved were at 20 for Gabriel Moreno compared to 13 for Patrick Bailey. Baseball Reference uses defensive runs saved, so this is a big reason why Baseball Reference loves Gabi so much more than Patrick Bailey. These numbers are being factored in there. If you take the average wins above replacement from Fangraphs and Baseball Reference, Gabi was at 3 compared to 1.8 for Patrick Bailey. So just splitting those numbers down the middle, Gabi comes out on top pretty decisively.
And I mean, obviously, there's the idea here, I guess, that they're both still young, right? But I don't really consider that Patrick. I don't really think Patrick Bailey is going to blossom into a better offensive player than Gabriel Moreno. And I think Moreno is still going to just get better defensively. He has the athletic skills that are hard to have. Like it's hard to, it's like what we saw with Corbin Carroll, right? It's hard to have a better throwing arm, sometimes. And Gabriel Moreno is just locked in when it comes to gunning runners out. The other things are things that you can improve on that, yes, they're skills, but they are skills that are coachable that you could become better at. And I think that's the trajectory for Gabriel Moreno. I don't even feel like it's a gamble to say, maybe not in 2024, but by 2025, I do believe that Gabriel Moreno will be the best catcher in the National League. And I just say that because even though, like you said, there are a lot of good catchers in baseball and there's a lot of good catchers in the National League, there's something special about him that I think that is going to separate him from the pack. And he is just going to be a guy that people are going to talk about. I think it's going to take, some more iconic moments like you called them, but I think he's capable of it. And I think that if this team continues to be competitive and continues to make the postseason, he'll continue to have opportunities for those iconic moments. And from what we've seen in this small sample size that we've seen out of him, he doesn't shy away from the big moment, Not to mention, again, that he's just he seems to be an incredible teammate. He seems to be the kind of guy that you want.
He has purple hair now.
Don't remind me. There's a lot of people reminded me about that, Jesse. They sent me the Instagram video quite a few number of times there. But it's exciting. The thing that this team hasn't really had, we talked about this, we've covered this, is that, that franchise catcher. Really in its history, just like this team's never really had this quality of bullpen before. And it finally feels like there's some things that are turning. And I can only say, I guess, the quality of bullpen from August through the end of the postseason, but still, nonetheless, it feels like things that we've never had are starting to finally, those needs are starting to be fulfilled.
So I do want to touch real quick just on why does Fangraphs have Patrick Bailey so high? Where is it getting this stuff from?
Answer the question, Dan Szymborski.
Yes. This is all Dan Szymborski's fault.
Yeah, it's his AI. I know it.
No, so Fangraphs pulls its defensive metrics, I believe, from Baseball Savant, which is basically StatCast. And those defensive metrics do favor Patrick Bailey over Gabriel Moreno. I mentioned defensive runs saved before. That has Gabriel Moreno being the better defender. But according to some of the numbers at StatCast, both catchers graded out extraordinarily well in terms of catching base stealers. Moreno was at the top of the league, but Patrick Bailey was not far behind. Gabriel Moreno graded out as a much better blocker. He had 10 blocks above average. This kind of new stat they have over at StatCast. Patrick Bailey had -9. So that's a big net win there for Gabriel Moreno. But on the flip side, Patrick Bailey was like a god tier framer in 2023. He had 16 framing runs on StatCast compared to -2 for Moreno. So Moreno was a little bit below average in that regard. And framing is tricky because it is on paper contributing a ton to Patrick Bailey's value. But it's a little bit harder, I think, as a baseball fan to just understand the impact that framing has. And also these metrics are a little bit imprecise. Like at the end of the day, these metrics are depending on calls that real umpires are making, and like how many of those calls Patrick Bailey is getting compared to Moreno. The difference is not necessarily all that Bailey is a better framer. It also can just be that umpires are human beings and like they could have just happened to give Patrick Bailey more calls than Moreno in certain situations. So there's clear evidence that Patrick Bailey is a better framer. That's why Fangraphs adores him so much. And I think that's probably why Patrick Bailey wound up so high on this list. But yeah, framing, I think it's something that can be taught to some extent, something Gabriel Moreno could get better at over time. And these stats are maybe a little bit less precise than some of the other ones.
I think somebody up in the chat, Gabriel said it. He said it's not being good at framing won't matter in 2 years when we have the automatic strike zone.
That is also a great point. Yeah, there is a very real possibility that in a few years, Patrick Bailey's biggest asset defensively has no impact whatsoever. Yeah.
Cog says Derek will have purple hair soon. I don't appreciate that one bit, Cogs. Elise has my back, and I think everybody should listen to Elise where she said, I don't know if Derek's hair can handle the bleaching it will take to get purple again. I don't think my scalp can handle that either. Shout out to Chris. Chris C in the chat says, thank you for your super chat. He says, I will also say that Gabi is one of the reasons why our bullpen was historically amazing as it was in October. We were able to switch the bullpen. I think Gabriel Moreno is a big part of that. I'm not sure if he's a big part of the reason why the bullpen was necessarily better there at the end. I think personnel was a big part of it, obviously, because of the changes. Paul Sewald probably had the biggest impact there. But Gabi, again, he is one of those guys. I think I've quoted this a few times, or at least discussed Zach Gallen saying it, but like Zach Gallen had a sincerity to him when he said that like Gabi is in the trenches in the war with you when you're out there as a starting pitcher. And that metaphor, makes it feel like, again, you as a catcher who typically is kind of alone out there, right? Like you're the guy. If you mess up, it's on you. There's not a lot of places to blame it when, a pitcher's out there throwing beach balls and the opponents are knocking them out of the park, right? But like to have that guy behind the plate that you feel that way about, to have a catcher that you feel is in the war with you, it's a different level of, I guess, confidence and it's a different type of relationship when it comes to connecting, with your teammate, with your starting pitcher out there on the mound. So we've heard nothing but great things about Gabriel Moreno, and I, am very excited to watch him and the other young guys on this team grow into, the hyperbolic nonsense that I throw out there about them. Like they're all going to be big, huge superstars. Just watch. But anyway, if there is one person I truly do believe that about besides Corbin Carroll, it is Gabriel Moreno. I do feel like he definitely has a superstar quality when it comes to catchers, that not only is the skill level there, but he just, again, like he's electric at times, and that's not something you can necessarily always have.
There is kind of this like flair for the dramatic element that really came out in the postseason. We've talked about before how Gabi Moreno was the Diamondbacks' number 3 hitter for the majority of their postseason games on a team that won the NL pennant, right?
Yeah.
And yes, shout out to DBX23, longtime listener, first time live chatter, Ski from the East Coast.
To you all.
Welcome.
Welcome. Happy to have you here. Obviously there's other competition around the National League. And when I say he's going to be the best in the National League, it's
a pretty bullish statement to make. I'm not going to lie.
It's still pretty bold, right? Because you do have Sean Murphy out there. You know, you have Will Smith, again, really good WAR, 4.3 WAR. Sean Murphy, 4.1 WAR. William Contreras. There's always a Contreras that's good behind the plate somewhere, right? But yeah, there's definitely a lot of competition. JT Realmuto, Francisco Alvarez, a lot of these guys that are still out there as very good catchers. I think that maybe if he doesn't end up being the top catcher in the National League, he definitely still has that potential to be one of the elite catchers in all of baseball.
Totally. Yeah, I think the big thing that stands out to me comparing Gabi with all these National League guys that you just mentioned, Murphy, Smith, Contreras, both of the Contrerases, I guess, Real Muto and Francisco Alvarez, those guys hit homers, right? Sean Murphy, 21 homers this past year. Will Smith, 19. William Contreras, 17. Real Muto, 20. Francisco Alvarez, 25. That's not the end-all, be-all. I don't think Gabriel Moreno needs to hit 25 homers to potentially be the best overall catcher in the National League. He's obviously bringing so much defensively, but I do think that is kind of the next big step for him. And if he finds a way to tap into that power even more, that power that we saw in the second half, as I mentioned earlier, from mid-August through the end of the postseason, he slugged .478. If he can be that guy for over the course of a full season, then suddenly you're talking about Gabi Moreno offensively being pretty much right up there with everyone on this list. And as much as I wouldn't project Gabi Moreno to be the best catcher in the National League as of right now, if he's able to be that guy over the course of a long period of time, I don't think it's a totally outrageous goal for him to reach at some point.
We got a lot of people in the chat here from other places right now. Not only did we have our friend joining us for the first time from the East Coast, we have Aaron Hughes, who says ski from Western Germany today. By the way, we out here late night in the cold. Aaron, put on a jacket. I'm worried for you now. I'm not gonna get good sleep tonight, making sure you were warm enough. Cog says ski from Beaumont, Texas. I worry about all of you. I worry about all of you so much. Gabriel, I'm sure, is somewhere too. I don't know where in the world Gabriel is, but Cog says ski from Beaumont, Texas. Again, thank you, Cogs. I hope you're enjoying your train ride. And I hope you enjoy the beignets when you get to New Orleans. We appreciate all of you guys being here right now on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, no matter where you are in the world. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever we go live. And of course, Gabi will tell you that you need to drop a like. And you drop a like for Gabi, drop a like for us, drop a like for everybody. We appreciate that. Those are our attaboys. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we appreciate you listeners as well. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. We always appreciate those. Of course, stop by Circle K right now, wherever you're at wait until you're done with the show, but stop by Circle K, fill up your car, get something to drink for yourself, get some snacks. It's a great place to fill up. It is America's thirst stop. And of course, if you have not joined the Inner Circle program, you can do so for free now by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. But if you do, you will save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. You also save 3 cents per gallon after that. It stacks with other deals like their Easy Pay. So you can get up to 35 cents off on your first 5 fill-ups. You can also get all sorts of free snacks sent to you in the app. And of course, free is good, of course. So make sure to check out Circle K today and check out that Inner Circle program. Download it on your iPhone. I'm assuming everybody has iPhones. I found out.
I would hope so.
I was trying to like do some sort of firmware update on a new piece of arcade equipment that I got, and I have to have a Windows PC in order to do it, and that seemed very.
Do they sell those anymore?
I don't know. I don't even know someone I can't even borrow one from someone. Everybody I know has an Apple. Anyway, I will also tell you, if you want to save some money, of course, if you want to make some money, if you want to secure your financial future, a great place to do so is at Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. I trusted them with the purchase of my first home. And of course, they can get you started on your home ownership journey as well. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and also has your financial interest in mind. When you open a free checking account now online with Desert Financial, you'll get $200 back in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. What's going on here? Derek clearly doesn't play computer games. I don't have no PC. Yeah, no, you're right too. Apple computers are terrible for playing computer games on.
They do have some limitations for sure.
They definitely do. But Jesse did something fun over at GoPHNX.com.
I don't know if fun is the right word.
Everything he does over at GoPHNX is arduous, by the way. He has every article he writes takes all of him. It takes all
this one in particular.
He leaves it all on the field when it comes to writing these
trying
articles.
To project the Diamondbacks opening day roster nearly 3 months before opening day
is
a bit of an ambitious task.
It's pointless.
Yes.
Got Mike Hazen still out here in the weeds, still hiding, ready to make moves,
right.
Ready to pounce, ready to change the roster up and make you look like a fool.
I am thankful that whatever the Diamondbacks are going to do next, I'm thankful it didn't happen like within 2 hours of me posting this story.
That was great of him.
I was fully expecting that to be the case.
I do appreciate them waiting to sign JD Martinez until I could go on a week-long vacation.
Yeah,
that was very kind of the front office. I appreciate that. But if no further moves were to be made, Jesse did his best to project what the roster was going to look like. I know we've talked about way too early roster projections in the past. Here's another one, I guess. So let's get into it because I think that so far, fairly spot on. Hard to argue with a lot of this. I know this one has been a big question for a lot of people. We got it on Monday as a mailbag question, and we'll probably still get it going forward. But people wanted to know who we thought would get that final spot in the rotation. And here is Jesse's projected rotation for the Diamondbacks. It goes Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, and Tommy Henry getting the 5th spot in the starting rotation.
Yeah, this was by far the least stressful part of this article for me. Starting rotation is pretty clear at this point with the top 4, Gallen, Kelly, Rodriguez, and Pfaadt. We've talked a lot about that top 4 and how it has the potential to be one of the best front fours in a starting rotation in the sport, and how, according to Zips, all 4 of those guys are projected for ERAs below 4. We talked about that the other day. The only question here is who gets that number 5 spot. And we've talked about that a little on the show as well. Tommy Henry is sort of the default choice, I think, just given the season that he had in 2023. He had a 4.15 ERA in, I believe it was 17, 18 starts, something like that. And he was consistent for the Diamondbacks at a time when there was a lot of volatility in the rotation. There were guys getting hurt. There were guys struggling, certainly. But he was a steadying presence. So I have him in there in that number 5 spot. Of course, we expect, how these guys perform in spring will matter. Ryan Nelson's certainly in the mix for that spot. Slade Ciccone, Bryce Jarvis, Blake Walston as well. All of those guys are on the 40-man roster and figure to have some shot at that number 5 spot. Not
to mention the fact that there could be a potential deal that changes this completely. We don't foresee that happening because as it stands, this is a fairly strong starting rotation still, especially for a young team that is giving these young guys an opportunity, right? It would almost be advantageous with the potential that they have out of Tommy Henry, Ryan Nelson, Slade Ciccone, Blake Walston, to have that last rotation spot open to see if one of them can kind of emerge and become the actual starting pitcher for this team. Like, competition is good. We've talked about that quite a bit. It's been good for the starting rotation in the past for this organization. And I think that when it comes to, these young arms, especially the ones that have had experience pitching out at a major league level over the last year for the regular season, like Tommy Henry and Ryan Nelson, it's kind of like a time to prove yourself at this point and prove your worth, especially as a starting pitcher. There still might be value out of the bullpen instead of kind of wavering as a potential starter. And I'm sure they would like to find out if they can utilize some of these guys in those roles.
Yeah, I think Ryan Nelson is a really interesting one. I mean, going into the 2023 season, maybe it's a little bit harder to remember this now, given the season he had. But Ryan Nelson, there were a lot of people excited about Ryan Nelson heading into 2023.
Yeah,
he came up and had like a 1.5 ERA in 3 starts.
Dre Jameson too
In 2022, Dre Jameson was certainly well thought of as well. Tommy Henry kind of struggled in 2022. He got a little bit more opportunity than those guys and didn't look quite as good. But yeah, with Ryan Nelson, it's just a matter of finding some secondary pitches that are going to work for him. We've seen the curveball, the slider, the cutter, the changeup. He's kind of mixed it up over the course of the season, kind of what his preferred secondary pitch was, and he just wasn't really able to settle on anything that was going to work, right?
Yeah.
But there's always been that potential, like when he's able to execute and when he has good feel for really any one of those secondary pitches, it's like, oh yeah, this can work.
Yeah.
Like we can kind of see it,
including coming out of the bullpen during the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, in that one World Series appearance that he made, Mike Hazen said the other day that he was pretty excited about what Ryan Nelson looked like in that World Series outing, and he also mentioned that Ryan is already out at Salt River Fields doing work and trying to put himself in as good a position as possible for the 2024 season. So the fastball is good. There's no question about that. It's just a matter of finding some secondary pitches that are going to work for him.
It was so odd the way that the young guys came up and found success so quickly for this team in 2022, right? I mean,
yeah,
we felt like it was unrealistic, but we also still had a lot of hope that what we were seeing was actually what we were going to get. And that wasn't the case, obviously, but it was just interesting how things kind of work themselves out in 2023, right? We saw a much more improved Tommy Henry versus the regression that we saw out of both Dre Jameson and Ryan Nelson. And that is one of those things that makes me think we might see Ryan Nelson come back and have a stronger like third year here after, what we saw out of him and what we saw out of Tommy Henry last year. I think those guys are still very good, and I can understand I especially with the other needs, especially with a designated hitter need, right-handed bat, things like that you would be prioritizing all this other stuff over trying to find another starting pitcher. But it gets asked quite a bit. Like if a lot of people feel like for the Diamondbacks, in order for them to be truly a contender, they need to find one more starting pitcher. I don't think that's the case. I really do think that their opportunity is, or their option is in-house. It would be great. But I don't know if you're going to bad thing. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get that much more potentially out of another guy than you might get out of one of these four young studs that still have a lot to learn at a major league level and a lot of experience to gain. I saw back there we had another new fan watching, or another person watching for the first time from Wichita, Kansas. Is that right? Can you scroll back there, David?
Do we have anyone? Is there anyone in the chat who is currently in the state of Arizona?
Is actually here and has watched the show before. Mr. Stubbs 3590, welcome. He said, love the show. First time able to listen live. D-backs #1 fan from Wichita, Kansas. Oh,
Wichita, Kansas.
He claims to be the #1 fan from Wichita, Kansas.
I mean, I believe it. I think.
I want to put it out there. Maybe put it on Twitter. See if there's any other Wichita fans. No, right?
Do people live in? How many people live in Wichita, Kansas?
Can we make them have a quiz off, or just maybe physically fight each other? I don't know. I want to find some way to rank the fans in Wichita.
Stubbs is easily #1.
Yeah. All right. Well,
don't come at the king.
Welcome, Mr. Stubbs. We appreciate you being here. Let's take a look at some of the other projections Jesse has, including let's go to the bullpen. Do we have the bullpen? Here we go. These are my guys. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at Gink. I'm fired up, Jesse. It doesn't even need to be in video form. Just the photo is enough to fire me up. But these are the guys. These guys did good work last year. The only name here that really we didn't get a chance to see out of, I guess, late in the season in the playoffs, there's Scott McGough. Yeah. Scott
McGough got hurt toward the end of the year. Wasn't available toward the end of the regular season or in the playoffs. There was a point during the season where Scott McGough was pitching very well and was closing games for the Diamondbacks and seemed to be an excellent pickup. He obviously faded down the stretch. But yeah, I'll go ahead and just list off these names real quick. Sewald, Ginkel, Thompson. I think that's easy money right there.
Yep. In that order.
in that order.
Ninth,
Yes, I
eighth,
guess.
seventh.
9th, 8th, 8th, 7th. There you go. Miguel Castro and Scott McGough, they both have guaranteed major league contracts going into 2024. I know they didn't have great seasons when all was said and done, but I have to believe that that gives them a little bit of a leg up over the competition, that at the very least, the Diamondbacks are going to give those guys another shot before moving on and going elsewhere. Luis Frias pitched fairly well for the D-backs down the stretch, had a 4.06 ERA over the course of the season. He is out of minor league options. So the days of stashing Frias in AAA and kind of having him be this up and down guy, those days are over. The Diamondbacks either have to put him on the roster and keep him there, or most likely lose him to another organization. Joe Mantiply and Andrew Saalfrank, I have rounding out the list here. Those top 6 guys that I named were all righties. The D-backs are going to need a couple lefties. So Joe Mantiply and Andrew Saalfrank were my picks there. Kyle Nelson being the primary, the one that it really kind of hurt to leave off. It was hard to pick 2 out of the 3 of Mantiply, Saalfrank, and Nelson. All 3 of those guys, pitched for the Diamondbacks in the postseason. There was extra room because Scott McGough was injured. But yeah, Mantiply and Saalfrank were my choices there. Nelson was really good in the first half of the season, but from July forward, his ERA was over 6. He really struggled with the long ball in the second half.
I love to see the reverence for Saint Seawald there, our patron saint of saves. I appreciate him, our Lord and Savior, Paul Seawald. Of course, a lot of this doesn't fall into place without him, right? And that's one of the big reasons why that acquisition is huge. The addition of Seawald kind of, it feels a little bit, going back to Gabi, like when they acquired Gabi. Like, you didn't really know at first a lot about Moreno, or considering how young he was, how soon he was going to contribute. And he kind of got thrust into that position, and then he became like a godsend. Like, there was just this instant feeling like that the Diamondbacks found somebody that was going to change their organization. Paul Seawald had about as rocky of a start as you could, getting traded over from, Seattle and starting here and fitting into that bullpen.
Touched on that the other day.
We really did. And yet there was something that after a week, that's when we started calling him the dad, is just that quiet comfort he brought to this team and this organization by being there. So he is the anchor, and he is very important there at the end. And I think there's not many changes from last season, especially towards the end, with the addition of a few names there. Like, I guess Frias was part of the mix there at the end of the season. So Scott McGough really being the guy that's back and healthy. But yeah, I mean, that, like, I think Dean said it, that's the first time I look at the bullpen, it doesn't give me hives, right? Like, it makes me feel confident.
Diamondbacks fans have been through a lot with bullpens.
We really have. It's not easy, man. And I mean, again, it's such a big part of why, not only has it been like why this franchise has struggled, but why it's been painful to watch it, because there's no worse way to lose games than with your bullpen blowing it at the end. Just having some solid starting pitcher go out there and give you 5, 6, 7 solid innings, and then just watching the bullpen choke away a game. It's just, it's kind of been a big part of our past, and hopefully that changes in 2024. Let's take a look now at the projected catchers and infielders for 2020.
Can I do want to touch just real quick on some of the other guys that were left off this list. I mentioned Kyle Nelson. Corbin Martin is another interesting name that I didn't have in here. I think has a chance to make the team. Martin was very much tracking to make the team last year as a reliever. He had really good stuff in spring training. He pitched around 5 innings. It was a pretty small sample, but he was pumping like upper 90s and a pretty good breaking pitch as well. So Corbin Martin should be healthy for the 2024 season, as far as I'm aware. He had shoulder surgery, wound up missing all of 2023 after spring training, but should be back. He's a name to keep an eye on. Big part of the return for Zach Greinke back in 2019. He's still around. Justin Martinez is another name that warrants mentioning. We got a little glimpse of Justin Martinez during the 2023 season, and there were some high moments with Justin Martinez for sure. He closed the game in San Diego.
I was going to say, including when we went to talk to him the first time, and I was holding out my little Bluetooth mic, and he just decided to take it from me and hold it up himself. What a good dude. Like, who does that? Not
He takes
everybody
it- he
does
takes
that.
That's indicative of a back end reliever
Yeah,
right there.
right.
He's taking initiative.
helping me out. Helping me out more than he needed to.
The stuff there is obviously amazing. Justin Martinez is throwing over 100 miles an hour with regularity.
Like Luis Frias, right? It's just about control, and it's about, can you get major league hitters to swing and miss at your stuff. It's not about, because I mean, man, I'll tell you, you can throw 104 miles an hour, but if you're still throwing it right down the middle of the plate,
or if you're throwing it like 8 inches outside,
yeah, like it's not great, right? Like, command is everything. What's interesting to me looking at the bullpen is, how does a young guy break into this bullpen? Now, where are the weak links? Would it be like an Andrew Saalfrank potentially? Is it maybe trying to get a spot from Miguel Castro, from Luis Frias? Like, where, if you're competing for a job, how do you break into this bullpen?
It'd be hard to take the job of a Mantiply or a Saalfrank or a Nelson if he wound up in there,
just because of the lefty.
Because they're lefties. You probably want 2 lefties at least in here. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned Luis Frias and the fact that he's out of options. If the Diamondbacks see him in spring training and don't necessarily love what they see, there is a chance where they just let him go on to another organization. And then if they believe that Justin Martinez is going to give them a better chance to win games, then I could definitely see them going that direction. And there are some other guys too. Colin Snyder just picked up off waivers from the Kansas City Royals a few weeks ago. Peter Strzelecki, who was acquired in the Andrew Chafin trade at the 2023 deadline. And then there's also a lack of a long man of the group of 8 that I came up with. So I do think it is possible that a Slade Ciccone or Bryce Jarvis or Ryan Nelson, one of those guys who misses out in the starting rotation competition, that, you know, one of those guys could make it as a long reliever, kind of like Dre Jameson did last year.
Just think about how different, though, this entire team was by the end of the season than it was at the beginning, including starting pitchers and the bullpen, right? So, like you said the other day, there's no way any major league team is getting through a season with just 5 starting pitchers. Same thing with the bullpen. You're not starting and ending the season with the same guys in your bullpen just due to injury, just due to the fact that some guys might not perform in the same way that they did last year. There's a couple of guys on this list like Ryan Thompson that it just didn't even make sense how good he was for this team, right? Like, it didn't. It really didn't. Being a DFA candidate from the Tampa Bay Rays that got released and picked up by the Diamondbacks, like, that is not necessarily the guy that you come in and expect to now be your 3rd best pitcher in your pen, but that's where they're at. And who knows if he's able to keep that up next year. So it'll be interesting to see how the bullpen that starts out the year kind of strong can adapt and maybe get stronger as the year goes on, especially with these young guys still fighting for a spot. We will take a look now at the Diamondbacks projected catchers and infielders for next year. We got here, of course, at the top, my baby boy, Gabriel Moreno, Christian Walker, Ketel Marte, Jerry P., Eugenio Suarez, Jace Peterson, big fan, Kevin Newman, and Tucker Barnhart. So, Jesse, thoughts here on the projected catchers and infielders that you put together?
Yeah, there are a lot of tough choices here.
Yeah, I don't like
it. Starts with the backup catcher role. The D-backs just brought in Tucker Barnhart on a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. We expect him to compete with Jose Herrera. One of those two. I mean, looking at their 2023 numbers, Barnhart and Herrera, neither of them were great offensively. Neither of them were great defensively. Barnhart is a guy who graded out very well from a framing standpoint, which we were talking about earlier, of course, with Patrick Bailey. So that's kind of his biggest asset defensively at this point, as well as what we've talked about in the past with just the rapport that he's built with pitchers and kind of developing a reputation for being really good at that. Really tough to choose between Barnhart and Herrera at this point. I went with Barnhart partially because Herrera still has a minor league option remaining. So you could keep Herrera in the organization as minor league depth and have Barnhart in the majors. Whereas if you were not to give this roster spot to Barnhart, he has an opt-out at the end of spring training and likely would head elsewhere.
Not great options there in the backup role, but still a very, very strong infield when you look at Gino, Jerry P., Ketel, Christian Walker, Gabi Moreno. Like that.
The starters are all.
That is a strong
it's
starting lineup.
Pretty good across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, the backup guys on the infield side also very difficult to pick from.
But here's the thing. I will say this: Jace Peterson last year was in the rotation to play third. And yes, it wasn't like he wasn't an everyday starter, but he was kind of an option to be an everyday starter at times for this team, or at least platoon there. This is a much better situation starting the year with Suarez over there and having those three guys as backups. And again, there's still the opportunity there for Jordan Lawler, for some of the younger guys to win that opportunity. It's a matter at sometimes, though, about, like, again, with Lawler, him getting at bats. You want him to get regular at bats. You don't want him to be in a backup role that some of those guys are going to be in for this team and not be getting regular at bats. Yeah,
and that's I know people are probably thinking of all the names that are not on this list. Did we list off everyone? I guess we did. Right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, okay, we didn't get to the outfielders or DH yet.
Okay, we'll do that in a second. So yeah, Jordan Lawler is not here. Pavin Smith is not here. Emmanuel Rivera is not here. Blaze Alexander, guy who's on the 40-man roster, figures to have a shot, is also not here. I think all of those guys have totally real chances to make the roster, which is why this was so difficult. Jace Peterson is someone that the Diamondbacks just traded for at the trade deadline. He has a good reputation as a solid clubhouse guy. The Diamondbacks owe him $3 million in 2024, no matter what. So it's hard for me to leave him off. Kind of for those reasons, I included him. And then you just need a backup shortstop is really what you're left with at that point. And the choice there, I guess, is Kevin Newman, Jordan Lawler, Blaze Alexander. I wound up going with Kevin Newman just because he's kind of the most proven, sure thing out of those guys.
What do you bring him in for to not be that role, right? Like, you don't, again, you don't want Blaze Alexander being on this roster and being up at a major league level and not getting at bats. And again, if that's going to be the case, it's different if he impresses you enough to think that you're going to maybe split time with him and Perdomo or something of the sort, but it's probably not going to happen, right? I mean, or split Lawler and Perdomo,
I mean, I think Lawler probably has a chance to come into spring and like have a monster spring, and who knows, maybe even be like the regular everyday shortstop, and then Geraldo Perdomo kind of bounces around in a utility role. I don't think that's impossible, but just given what we saw at the end of last year and the initial struggles upon reaching the majors,
did you hear the things
I felt like I had to go with Newman, just him being kind of a veteran player and someone who's proven against left-handed
pitching. The look
of
rage on Damon's face when Jesse said something even slightly.
Was it the Perdomo thing?
It's the Perdomo comment for sure. It's the Perdomo slander.
I thought I made that very clear.
The moment that I suggest Perdomo as like a utility, anything other than the Diamondbacks like primary shortstop, Damon breaks out in hives. But and Blaze Alexander's another guy where he has the ability to play shortstop, and with a strong spring, I think he could totally earn that role as well. So that one is very much going to depend on how things look in spring. Emmanuel Rivera is in a tough spot because he's out of minor league options, and I don't know if I see him fitting on a roster that already has a right-handed everyday third baseman in Gino Suarez, as well as with the other decision I made, Kevin Newman. If you have a right-handed hitting backup shortstop who can also play third base, I don't know if I really see a spot for Emmanuel Rivera in that world. So not to say it's impossible, but the fact that the D-backs have a Eugenio Suarez makes Emmanuel Rivera just harder to find regular opportunity for him in the majors.
And of course, we will get to the projected outfielders and DH here in a moment. But if you want to project a little bit of your own knowledge about Major League Baseball, you can do so with some futures bets over at BetMGM. You can also download the BetMGM Sportsbook app right now or visit BetMGM.com and sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. Use our promo code of PHNX. If you place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at a standard odds price, you will receive $158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Damon, do we understand the significance of the $158 amount?
No, I do not.
It's a very specific dollar amount, but that's what you will get back just absolutely for free as a bonus bet by placing your first wager in the amount of $5. So get down on it right now. Get yourself.
It has something to do with the Super Bowl, I believe.
Okay, that starts to make sense. we aren't a football podcast, so we might not be up to date on what that number means to us in the baseball world. But what it means to you, free bonus bets. And there's nothing better than betting with bonus bets. Don't let anybody, by the way, tell you that your bets are a bad bet if your bet wins. I just had that happen with my parlay. One of my son of a bitch friends decided to tell me that me betting the under on the Steelers-Baltimore game was a bad bet when I won. How? In what world? I won money. And you can too. Don't listen to your friends. They're just jealous that you won. Sign up for BetMGM now.
I'm really smart, Derek. I just figured out why it's $158.
Let's hear it.
This is Super Bowl 58. Yeah. I'm pretty good at this, aren't I?
I don't like how smug he was about that, but get that $158. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM sportsbook wager through the sportsbook mobile application of at least $5. That's all it is, $5. You will receive $158, as Jesse said, in honor of Super Bowl 58.
I mean, maybe it's a coincidence.
Maybe it's a coincidence, but probably not. You will receive that $158 instantly and additional winnings regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to our baby boy Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario. Well, you can also check out our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where Damon is not taking me on the boys' trip. But I will go on my own trip all by myself, and I will have a great time. A great time, let me tell you. Gila River Resorts and Casinos, no one does it better. And, of course, they make a great place to not only go out for a night on the town, enjoy the gaming that they have there. Their gaming floor has over 800 slot machines, 15 blackjack table, and live table games. You can also go to Arizona's largest sports book there, get down on wagering on some sports, have some fun doing that, as well as sit poolside, be like a, big timer. Go out there, get yourself some drinks, enjoy. I guess the weather here is too cold right now to sit poolside, but it won't be for long. February's right around the corner. You know how things work in Arizona. But you can check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Maybe stay inside. I'm sure they have a cozy fireplace somewhere in the casino for you to warm up. But they do offer an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement you won't find anywhere else in the desert. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Cogs says, I'm not allowed at Gila River. They kicked me out. I'm sure there's a story there, and it probably has nothing to do with him being a high school student. Well, I don't know. We'll have to hear the rest of that. We appreciate you being here. If you are a diehard member, by the way, if you haven't gotten yourself a diehard membership, get yourself the gift of joining our family. Go to gophnx.com. Join us. You'll get Jesse's newsletter. You'll get the access to all of our content, including access to our Discord lounge, get access to our members-only discounts with our partners, as well as that free shirt from the PHNXlocker.com of your choosing. I'm rocking this bad boy right now, by the way, this is the like jersey shirt. Oh, I can't get it in this one.
There it is.
All right. It looks great. It looks great when you're wearing jackets and stuff that you want to leave open like this. I'm just going to crack that open.
You're wearing way too many colors today.
Like there's teal in this, and the Suns have teal, and then there's purple,
orange, teal,
purple,
sand,
and Sedona red. By the way, those are still Diamondbacks colors. This all goes together. You know what? Just because you are sitting over here, Mr. Drab, in your grays and your blues, you're not gonna get on me. I'm wearing my wonderful shirt from PHNXlocker.com. You get yours for free by becoming a diehard member.
Jesse.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I don't dress like this to not be complimented on it, Damon. What are you doing?
I didn't say anything about you. I just said I thought Jesse looked very professional.
Espo.
You said he looked drub and dull.
Espo, would you come compliment me, please? Because Damon's not doing a good job of it as our producer.
I love the shirt.
Thank you.
I love the jacket.
Thank you.
I love the beanie.
Is it too much?
I don't love it together.
Oh my God!
There we go.
Take the microphone back. Get out of here. You guys are monsters.
You look great in the shirt.
Oh man, I don't know.
You look like a road accident or something with all of it put together.
Like there's just not as much love for the Suns anymore. Joey says I look like I'm going to raid the Capitol. Damn it, Joey. You're probably right. All right. Well, we do have one more thing to cover when it came to your projections for the roster.
Yes.
We have the projected outfielders and DH, which, why did we even do this? Oh, I see. There it is. Projected free agent DH. Jesse, you genius.
I know.
You snuck
yes.
that one in on me. Let's go.
I mean, it would have been completely outrageous for me to, like, in my opening day roster projections, just like put Jorge Soler or something in there. So we have a placeholder.
It's fine.
We have an
I'll
open
take it.
slot.
It's because you don't want to say JD Martinez yet, but it is for JD Martinez.
It is for whomever.
JD Martinez.
We TBD. We'll see what happens. But as
JDM.
far as the actual outfielders that are already in the organization, Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel, those are no brainers. Alec Thomas, I have him making the team. Not quite as no-brainer-esque as Carroll and Gurriel, but still seems highly likely, especially given his performance in the postseason. And then the D-backs are going to need a fourth outfielder. They have a variety to choose from. Jake McCarthy, Dominic Fletcher, Jorge Barosa, also on the 40-man roster, could factor in as well. I went with Jake McCarthy there. He's the most established of that trio. I still very much think it's possible that Dominic Fletcher or even Jorge Barosa could find their way on the opening day roster. Barosa has the distinction of being a switch hitter rather than being a left-handed hitter. The D-backs wanted a platoon guy for Alec Thomas in center or something like that. I do think Barosa could make some sense, but my sort of default, my best guess as of right now would be Jake McCarthy in that fourth spot.
My favorite part about your projected roster for next year is how similar it is to this year's roster.
I mean, that's kind of the way you have to do it, right? I mean, if I came out and made like sweeping changes everywhere,
I'm just saying
that would seem a little bit out there.
There's something in professional sports that these teams do. The Diamondbacks are guilty of it. Other teams are guilty of it. And it's not to say the Diamondbacks aren't still going to add to the roster, not only before the season starts and make changes, but as the season progresses. Like we said, last year's roster was vastly different from the beginning of the season than it was at the end of the season. But like, there is no need right now to do anything drastic when it comes to this roster and this team. I felt like they showed you last year what they were capable of. They showed you that if you maybe didn't have to do a bullpen start every 5 games, that maybe you could be even better than what you were. And I like the fact that even with the success they had, they didn't drastically change this team. They're just adding pieces to it, which is what you do after you've established your core. You know who your core is. You know who you want to keep here. You know who you want to extend. And obviously, they're not going to be able to extend everybody and keep everybody here. But what they can do is they can absolutely do their best to kind of grow this young team that achieved this great postseason run without ahead of schedule and without needing to do anything drastic. And you can just try to build on it going forward. We're seeing something again with the Suns right now that is pretty sad, right? And a big part of it is because right when they got close with the pieces they had, they decided to really try to up their game. And like again, they had established who their young core was and who they were going to build around. They added some pieces. They got close to the championship. They didn't get it done, and then they just kind of went in more on like, okay, well, let's double down. Let's risk some of these guys that we consider to be the core, and let's try to bring in some real true superstars with, veteran experience that can get us over the edge. I'm so conflicted on even talking about this because I'm a huge Kevin Durant fan. He's my favorite player in the NBA. He plays on my favorite team. And yet I also feel like maybe it wasn't a great idea.
Yeah, I think in
but
the
it's
NBA,
because of that. In comparison to the Diamondbacks, I feel like that's where they went left, where the Diamondbacks are kind of, hopefully they don't feel the need to do something that drastic in order to bring the championship to the Valley.
Yeah, I think there are some key differences. Like in the NBA, I think the more top-heavy your roster is, the better in some ways,
that's
right?
Very true.
Like you win.
Because that's who's going to play out there the majority of the time. And again, 4 guys can really toe the load in the NBA way more than you could say that about the 9 guys on the field needed for a baseball team, plus the 5 starting pitchers, plus the bullpen. Like, you need to have a lot of good players at different positions in baseball in order for your team to find success.
Right, totally. So I think that's like a big thing, and it seems like the Suns felt pressure to like, all right, you know, it might be that we're capable of winning 60 games every year, but when push comes to shove and we're playing the best teams in the biggest moments, we fall a little bit short. And so you can understand why they felt the need to make some of those decisions that they made, even though, yes, I'm with you. In retrospect, I have questions. But yeah, for the Diamondbacks, it's different. Baseball is a different sport. It's a more team-oriented sport. It doesn't matter as much. I do think that having a top-heavier roster maybe plays better in the postseason. There's some sense of like, you know, how does your star power kind of compare with the other team's star power once you get into the NLCS and the World Series and those biggest moments. We certainly saw the Rangers stars kind of outperform the Diamondback stars when push came to shove. But there's also a reality of ownership differences between the Diamondbacks and the Suns. The moment that Matt Ishbia came aboard for the Suns, money was no object, and they are paying a hefty amount of money for the team that they have now. Yeah. The Diamondbacks are not in position to trade some of their young players to get, you know, players who are making $30, $40, $50 million a year. So a very different situation in that sense as well. And that's ultimately why I don't think the Diamondbacks will ever really go down a similar path as the Suns. It's just not financially sustainable for them.
Well, I will say that one of the things that infuriated us as the roster changes happened last year, and especially infuriated Damon Dog, was the fact that as the season progressed, there were still only, 2 Serpientes jerseys with a player name on the back that you could find regularly in the team shop. And one of them just kept selling out. Obviously, that was Corbin Carroll, right? But there was this Madison Bumgarner jersey that seemed to hang around. And this is no knock at Madison Bumgarner, but you often ask the question,
yes, it is.
Who's buying that? Why is it still on a shelf? Why, more importantly, has it not been clearanced off for just a fraction of the price so that we can move these units and get this out of here? Well, I think we found the one person that bought a Madison Bumgarner jersey. Damon, do you have the tape? That's noted internet comedian Druski talking trash to
James Harden.
James Harden before yesterday's game here in Phoenix while he was wearing a Madison Bumgarner Serpientes jersey that, again, where do you even find that now?
It was a topic of conversation from like me and Sean in particular for like the entire year. Like it just made us sick to our stomach.
Yeah.
You want to, these were the two options actually. It wasn't Corbin Carroll. You had to customize that. It was Mad Bum and Randy Johnson.
No.
I swear to God.
A Randy Johnson Serpientes jersey that he definitely never would have worn.
I feel like that makes even
those
less
were the
sense.
two that they sold in the team shop.
Yeah.
It made me sick to my stomach.
You're talking like after Mad Bum was DFA'd.
I think they might have taken those out of the team shop, but they did still sell them as one of the 2-player non-customizable jerseys on like Fanatics.
That's infuriating. That's infuriating.
It's disgusting.
I don't understand. Obviously, we know that there was the jersey change, so we have a feeling that impacted why we weren't able to get more jerseys in the team shop last year, like that they were holding off on it. But the Serpientes jersey isn't going anywhere. Why couldn't we have more Serpientes jerseys?
I mean, you have such a fun young team and like capitalize
GABI
on
Moreno,
that.
Alec Thomas on the
That's
Serpientes jersey, that goes so hard. And now we have Druski.
Jerseys.
We have Druski here before the Suns game, right? That was the Suns game, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the court is Lakers.
Oh,
it is a Lakers court.
Okay,
so that was James Harden warming up.
The point is
it's a Lakers-Clippers game.
Well, no, because they just played the Clippers, and the Clippers actually just walloped the Suns. Am I not mistaken?
No, they did. They absolutely did. Yeah. But I don't think.
Okay, because I was like,
this is 2 nights ago. The Clippers when they played the Suns last night were coming off a back-to-back.
It's too close. It's too close to the Clippers playing the Suns to have a man out there in a Madison Bumgarner jersey interacting with a team that's going to play the Suns. Like, I feel like that curse is just it carries over. It's not.
I thought it was funny that Bleacher Report, their caption of this said nothing about the jersey that Druski was wearing. It was just Druski was messing with James Harden before last night's Clippers game with like the crying, laughing emoji. And everyone in the comments is like, who cares about Druski messing with James Harden? Druski is wearing a Madison Bumgarner jersey.
Can we talk about that?
What is happening here?
That is the real story here. You missed the headline here, Bleacher Report.
I know very little about Druski, which I'm sure shocks many of you. But he doesn't have like any Arizona ties that I'm aware of, at least. Like, why is he wearing a Diamondbacks jersey of all teams?
You want to know why? And I guarantee you this is the reason why. He thought it was a really cool jersey. And that's one of the two options for players that they had available. And that's my point this entire damn time.
Well, isn't Randy Johnson probably the choice there? But
he didn't wear that jersey. He was 20 years away from that jersey. That's a terrible choice for a jersey.
Sure.
If
At least Madison Bumgarner wore that jersey. Like, that's an actual jersey he wore.
If you promote Corbin Carroll, now Druski's wearing a Corbin Carroll jersey.
Yeah.
And that's sick.
Yeah.
And look at the blown opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't KD wearing a Corbin Carroll jersey? Isn't that why that blew up so much? Because KD was wearing
he got one customized because he knows ball.
Well, yeah, I had to get a KD jersey customized. It's all full circle. That's the only way I was able to get the streaking sun Kevin Durant jersey.
I do think it takes a while for like really young players to catch on, maybe from a jersey standpoint.
Nope, I don't believe that. That's bullshit. We talked about this. Josh Dobbs, there was a Josh Dobbs jersey the next day after he led the Vikings to victory in their team shop.
But Josh Dobbs has been around for a long time, right? Like, if a guy has
nothing to do with it.
If a guy was just called up from AAA, even if he has lofty prospect status and he's knocking the cover off the ball, you're probably going to wait before you put his jersey in the team shop because he might get sent down to AAA in a few weeks, right?
You mean to tell me that even if a guy's a young prospect that isn't thought of very highly and he comes up, let's say he goes to the major league roster and he goes on to say, I don't know, hit an opening day walk-off home run, that you wouldn't invest the money into creating a shirt with potentially his likeness on it, but not actually his likeness?
I feel like you're making my point, though. You're talking about Seth Beer.
I am not talking about Seth Beer, because we didn't make a Seth Beer shirt, Jesse. We made a Seth Cerveza shirt, which is totally a different thing.
Well, you're talking about the Diamondbacks not making like a Seth Beer jersey right after he hits the big opening day home run.
It would be foolish for you to invest in a merchandise item that you sell on your shop merely based on one guy hitting one home run in one situation that happened to result in me getting a kiss on my cheek from the stranger.
So you're still making my point. Okay,
I probably
great.
am.
Excellent.
I probably am. You're right. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe put more jerseys out there. That's Damon. That's all Damon
we
wants.
Can
just
say
put more jerseys out
as
there.
of now, Corbin Carroll that jersey should be widely available. Gabriel Moreno should be widely available.
Where are the damn Perdomo jerseys?
That's
what everybody's asking.
I'm just saying, if you put an Alec Thomas Team Mexico jersey in the shop at Chase Field, you won't keep it in stock.
I'd sprint from this office to Chase Field.
Cogs would buy every single one of them. I don't know what he would do with them, but he would buy every single one of them.
I'm beating Cogs.
Yeah, and he would take a train to get there, so Damon wouldn't have a chance.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Damn, that train's right outside the stadium.
Trains go very slow. You'll be all right. Anyway, we thank you guys, of course, no matter where in the world you currently are, for joining us today. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. This maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Damon is the people's producer. You can find him at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Of course, our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by today. We appreciate your time. We will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. We also still have a very big guest on Thursday, so make sure to we're going to keep teasing that until we actually tell you who it is. But stop by on Thursday for sure. In the meantime, again, we appreciate your time. We thank you for stopping by. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you can find all the young, exciting players from your team's jersey in the team shop.
We all silly like the mayor.